Well, I think there are higher level macro pressures that impact allocations and rotations. But, we look at these fundamentally, and in terms of e-commerce and online advertising, trends remain very positive across the board. So, we view any significant or lingering pullbacks as buying opportunities for most of the big tech names.
Amazon had been, consolidating for a bit. It seems to have a bit of a reboot, if you will, heading into Prime Day. How material is that event to the stock?
Yeah, well, it certainly shines a spotlight on what differentiates Amazon from competition. Prime subscriptions, are a big piece of that. Amazon's pushing, more memberships and benefits for Prime subscribers. And I think that really demonstrates that Amazon is more of a services business now rather than a pure retail business. And that should deserve a higher valuation, a higher multiple. So I think that's how it helps the stock. Obviously, from a retail or e-commerce perspective, the Prime Days allow a lot more publicity for Amazon and generate sales in an otherwise seasonally slower period here.
How much thought do you give to the idea of Amazon splitting its stock? You think that's likely?
We get the question from clients once in a while on that. Obviously, it doesn't change the intrinsic value of the company, but it can make the stock more accessible to other investors, particularly individual investors. So we think it would have that benefit, but it doesn't change any of the fundamentals on the company.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sorry. Do you actually think they'll do it? I mean, that's, I think, what we want to know. Do you think they'll actually do that?
Well, I have no reason to think they will, since they haven't given it much consideration to date.
Colin, I am curious about something else that's been kind of hovering over the big tech names like Amazon, like Facebook, like Alphabet, which I know you cover as well, and that is the antitrust stuff and all of the regulatory scrutiny there, not just abroad, but here in the U.S. You got Lina Khan now as the FTC chair as of this week. We know she's been extremely critical about big tech. How does this shape up?
Well, a lot of the potential regulation really gets settled in courts, and obviously discussion around big tech regulation and oversight. A lot of that is politically driven. And it's bipartisan. So we do think there's the potential for more regulation, more oversight over some of these companies and industries. We think the chances of any really egregious or game-changing regulation, at least surviving judicial muster, is pretty low. In fact, a lot of these companies have been successful in courts previously in Europe and in North America at fighting off some of the regulations. So a lot of it's headline risk. Some of it is oversight, which is good. Any sort of major changes to business models, we don't expect that.
So you wouldn't expect any of these companies to be forced to break themselves up. How about acquisitions? Would you see a freezing of the pipeline in terms of those deals getting made?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we are seeing that, in fact. I think part of the higher investment spending that we're seeing at companies like Facebook and Google are related to the fact that they probably can't rely as much on acquisitions. And so they have to build products and generate growth internally. And so that has an effect on cash flow and profit margins. And that is something I think we're seeing now and we will continue to see.
I feel like you've been chasing this stock higher a little bit, to be fair. I'll let you defend that if you'd like to. I mean, last July 7th outperformed 3,300, July 30th, 3,500, October 29th, 3,700. Now you have 4,000. What do you think about that?
Well, we think it can go to 5,000, in fact. No, we really think that over the course of the year, it's potentially we're going to see Amazon generate more revenues from these recurring services businesses than retail. And I think that could be an inflection point in terms of the way investors look at Amazon, the stock. It's not at a historically expensive valuation. They don't have the same challenging pandemic comps as other e-commerce companies. They are investing for significant growth ahead. I think some people are concerned about the CEO transition. That happens in July. That will become less of an issue as we get to the back half of the year. and as AWS and advertising and subscriptions really bubble up to the surface, I think that's going to give investors a reason to get back into Amazon.
5,000. That's what we're going to remember from this interview.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.